Hello, everyone. I'm Matt, and welcome to the Jam Yearbook.
And I'm his other brother, Matt, and welcome to the Jam Yearbook.
That that's that's not how it goes. You pulled the slick one on me there, man. Jesus. Anyway, yes, welcome to the Jam Yearbook, everybody. It's yet again another anniversary episode of the show, and we promise we will catch up on the special soon.
Yeah, and actually, my name's Jim. So just in case you've have never watched this before, well, here it is. I'm Jim. He's Matt, and we're the Jam Yearbook. Yeah, so when we do a special show, let's just make sure we do a good one. But on this episode, we're going to dive back into albums celebrating those anniversaries. We start 25 years back in the year 2000, and we stick to albums released in our lifetime, which means if we're going on 5-year increments, we go back to 1975. It's a good place to start.
Yeah, and as always, we rely on our private group, Facebook, to vote on what Jim puts in the poll, and we come back at you with top 5 albums that get the best votes, and Jim and I each pick an album ourselves to talk about.
Yeah, it's a really good way to do it because we rely on our audience to pitch into the show. And we really appreciate all of those who give those votes each time we put a poll up because it really helps us generate a good conversation. Oftentimes, having to sit down, listen to albums that we wouldn't choose to listen to on our own, but it makes creating this show a lot more interesting.
Yep. All right.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
let's get on with the first one. Ben Folds 5.
yeah, I'm really happy.
Ben Folds 5.
Ben Fold 5, yeah, self-titled. Really happy this made the poll and that it's near and dear to the hearts of people. I do wonder a little bit if people were thinking about Whatever and Ever Amen just because of the timeline, which didn't come out
Yeah.
much later than this. It would be 2 years and that would be out. But, often the debut album is what real fans attach themselves to at first.
Mm.
So I think that might be what was going on. I'm not sure how big Philosophy was, but I do think it was an alternative radio song back in the day. It was getting some airplay, and it's definitely one I think people would know best. My favorite song off the album is Underground. I didn't know it from this album. I knew it from Baby Pictures or something. There was
Naked Baby
Naked Baby
Photos. Yeah.
photos that came out even after Whatever and Ever Amen, and it had a live version of this. But I
Hmm.
was happy to listen to it this week, go back to it, and enjoy it. It's such a fun song.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the album was a refreshing shift in alternative music in 1995 when it seemed like almost every other band was trying to recreate that Eddie Vedder baritone
Mm.
sound that was going
Ultra
on.
serious.
Yeah, and then Ben Folds pops out, and they just had a sound that was just fun and unique.
Yeah, it's punk rock for sissies, I believe is how he described it at one point. And I got a soft spot for three-piece bands. It takes a lot of creativity to fill up the same space
Hmm.
as a generic 4-piece band or more, especially with no guitar. Robert Sledge, he dirties up his bass, at the right times to kind of fill that gap, fill that
Hmm.
role. And man, that dude can shred on the bass.
Yeah, he
It's
can.
pretty impressive. So it doesn't make me miss the guitar at all. Ben Folds offered something different than those tortured grunge poets and the macho rock rebels, like
Mhm.
Oasis.
Oh
He
yeah.
wasn't going to be a Gallagher brother.
Hmm.
But he still showed that songs could be vulnerable without being dark and moody, right? You can get
Hmm.
in more into the lyrical content on there. The songs are clever, they're witty, but they still have that capacity to be aggressive because he can really bang on the piano a lot. Underground's a great song. I think I dug more into Uncle Walter. I think there was just that comedic aspect,
Yeah.
that one guy, that one relative at sitting around the Thanksgiving table that all you had to do was say hi to, and next thing you know, you
Yeah.
can't escape him,
You don't
right?
want to sit next to Uncle Walter. Yeah.
No, you don't. And I've always wondered if without Ben Folds 5, and I'm not saying they're the originator of this kind of stuff, but they showed bands like the White Stripes and the Black Keys that you didn't have to be your stereotypical band setup, right? You didn't have to
Mhm.
be traditional. Uh, they had guitars, but 2 members, and they took it even further back because those early albums were really lo-fi for them.
Yeah. 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 For
Um,
both.
and over the years, groups like Crash Kings that I really started digging on, and Keen and Jukebox the Ghost, they probably took inspiration from what three people can do.
Hmm.
Again, Ben Folds didn't invent piano rock, but there was a huge lack of it when they came around.
Yeah, yeah, and fun.
Yeah, they were. They
Well,
were
you think about
totally
this
fun.
coming out in the same years like Presidents of the United States of America, because we'd spoken about them a couple of months
Oh,
ago.
yeah.
And that's another band that was three piece, but was had a rockier
Hmm.
element to what was going on. So I think that really everybody was really bored. And there are people out there who are still going to
Yeah.
love your bands, your Sister Hazel or whatever they were, with these grunge baritone voices that were making alternative rock. I
Yeah.
think Collective Soul might have been kicking around as well
Yeah, they were.
during this time. But yeah, these bands like Ben Folds, these were the guys who really captured our imaginations, I think, as musicians.
Hmm.
And then his lyrics, you're right, playfulness, people could relate to it. And it was a little bit different than my feelings and
Yeah,
everything that was coming out.
exactly. But
Yeah.
they were really about my feelings, but they're going to be kind of funny,
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
biting, you know,
yeah.
not crying all over the place. So let's move on from Ben Folds 5 and to a group that maybe the name says it all in a certain
Yeah.
way to me, Garbage
Oh, to you.
and
Yeah, to you.
Garbage, right? So before I complain about it, Jim, what say you? What do you think?
I was kind of surprised that it got as many votes as it did straight away. When I put the poll up, I think Garbage was the first band to get multiple votes from people and looking
Hmm.
at it. Um, I I can kind of understand though. I think with that age range, I think the people who were voting for it were probably in maybe junior high or high school at the
Oh,
time.
totally, totally.
Yeah, and it fit that kind of scene for them. But Garbage, they kind of leave me perplexed. I don't hate them, but I don't find myself settling into their sound and really finding a lot of enjoyment in it. I don't sit back and think, "Ooh, I'm gonna go listen to Garbage and throw it
Hmm.
on." But it's that's just me. So what do you think?
Well, first, I'm glad. I know I came in hot there, but hey, vote your heart, man. Make us listen to what you want us to listen to. That's why we're here. Because how boring is it going to be if we just come on and say, no, we want to listen to this and tell you this? That's what we have our single albums for.
They actually called their band Garbage because when they first played it to somebody, they were told it sounds like garbage.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so that's it. They took their name from that.
Yeah, okay. I think sonically, it just she's a good singer, but she sounds again kind of disinterested. We were kind of having a discussion off air about somebody else, giving disinterested performances. And just back in the day, Garbage didn't have much to offer me. I
Well,
heard plenty of them on the radio.
yeah, I was going to
When the
say, how
songs
were
came
you
on,
exposed to them? We weren't hanging
on the
around with friends that were listening to Garbage, I don't think, at that time.
completely radio.
Hmm.
And the songs would come on. I wouldn't skip them because back in the day when I was listening to that stuff, the next song was going to be the payoff and it's not that I hated it. It's just it filled up the space. You know, it's not hate. It's just meh. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Nothing ground shaking for me.
I think for me, knowing Butch Vig, knowing his history, I mean, Smashing Pumpkins and me going on about loving Siamese Dream. And
Hmm.
I love Gish almost just as much, and at times
Oh
more
yeah.
than Siamese Dream. And Nirvana's Nevermind producing that. I think when I found out Butch Vig had a band and he was going to come out and release music, I expected it to be like, the Bible of music. It was just going to be the most incredible thing you'd ever heard.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was radio friendly. It had its thing. I mean, one thing about Garbage that they do is what was weird to me was just how they put their sound together because they sound like a rock band, but a lot of the stuff is cut and paste together from samples.
Hmm.
But I don't know. Like I tried to find a comparison, and all I could think was Quentin Tarantino has made some of my favorite movies. Love his films. But if you put Quentin Tarantino in a role in one of those movies, you're not going to walk away going, you know what? He's a great actor and he stole that film.
Yeah, his
And
middle
that's,
name's Oscar.
yeah, exactly. Quentin Tarantino, great filmmaker. Butch Vig, great producer of music and
Yes.
produced a lot of albums that you and I both really admired. But at the end of the day, that's where he was.
No, and I think this is completely and totally on me and you. just 90s alt music. Well, I listened to a ton of it. I loved it back when it was, new.
Hmm.
But it just hasn't aged well for me. I wanted to say because it does sound dated, but that doesn't seem to bother me when it's 80s music, right?
Yeah,
And I
that's
think you
true.
were
Yeah.
you were hitting on it right there. The 80s were my formative years, not the 90s. So
Hmm.
people in the 90s, yeah, they are going to dig on this more than me.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's just the way it is. I don't have the emotional attachment to these groups or
Wait until we
songs
get to the
for the most part.
2000s further on.
Oh crap. Yeah, the
Uh-huh.
20. Oh boy, those are pretty rough.
And all the people that are in there, like
Yep.
25 and a little bit older age group.
Yep. And a lot of these hits from the 90s, we've complained, or I've complained about a lot. They haven't gone away. They
Hmm.
haven't, they go away. Give me a chance to miss you. Right? Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Well,
But
you live in a place where the radio station that plays alternative music has been playing the same music since
oh yeah, it's
1995.
awful. It's
Uh-huh.
awful. And every new alternative station that comes on just gets the same box of damn records.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really annoying.
Hmm.
But yeah, hold on, you're making me spiral here. Because because I was gonna pull back and give you the good. Uh,
Okay, okay, okay.
so I did force myself to listen to this a couple times. Uh, you brought me the whole Butch Vig factoid a couple years ago, and I didn't know that. Producing Nevermind, Siamese Dream, that's big deal music
Hmm.
right there. So knowing that, giving Garbage more fresh listens, I can actually hear the Smashing Pumpkins guitar sound on Only Happy When It Rains. It's
Okay,
just not
yeah.
up front, but
Yep.
it's there.
Okay.
There's a tightness with the bass, and the bass has a little bit of dirt that kind of matches what the guitar is doing. It's
Hmm.
there. Uh, and some of these songs played better in my ears with headphones as
Hmm.
opposed to a big stereo. There's definitely some feeling you get. It's like, oh wow, this is kind of mesmerizing to a degree. So I gave it a shot, and I found, like I've been trying to find the where I can appreciate it.
Outside of the notes we have for the show, I think I told you this, but I'm just going to tell it here on the podcast. I love how the band came together and how Shirley Manson wound up being the lead singer of the band. Shirley Manson was in another band that had toured America with Live back in 1994 on the Throwing Copper uh, tour when that was going around. I forgot what the name of the band was, but they weren't very big. And she's from Edinburgh, Scotland,
Yep.
over here, and they had one music video that got played on MTV one time. And one of the
Wow.
members of Garbage had been sitting there watching TV that night and said, "That's our lead singer." And because they were trying to find somebody to
Oh,
front the
really?
band. And so if you think about this band, if that guy had gotten up to go to take a leak, if he'd not been
Oh,
sitting there that night, if he'd got stuck at a stoplight on the way home, if something had
yeah.
happened, her life would have been completely different. But
Yeah.
because that video got shown one time, and you talk about playing once in front of the right person. A lot of bands have that dream. Oh, I'm going to get up and play, and that one person's going to be there. I mean, that's the story of Oasis. They went by, probably Oasis probably would have made it on their own anyway. But there was a guy who went to the club and saw them opening up for somebody else, and they were signed. So Shirley Manson's one time on MTV with this band led her to, Garbage. And
All right.
they're still touring now. They're I don't know how much of an impact they still have in America if they tour there, but in the UK they still play the arena shows and do really
Oh,
well
wow.
here. Yeah,
Okay, good.
they're a big band. They're well
Good.
celebrated. Well, they're considered I think they get embraced by Britain because of Shirley Manson, even though they're more an American
Probably.
band because the other three guys. But your front person kind of leads that.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I found odd about it, and when it comes to Butch Vig as well, because he's the drummer for the band,
Hmm.
Stupid Girl uses a sample of the drums from Train in Vain by The Clash the entire way
Yeah.
through. And I just can't help but think when I'm listening to it, why didn't he just like kind of steal that drum beat and change it up a little bit or do something and make instead of yeah, I'm like, does he play it live? He probably does. When they go out and play, I'm sure
Oh,
he's
yeah,
on stage
probably.
playing it, but I'm kind of a little bewildered that they would go grab a sample of this and use that as the drum beat for the song. It fits. It's really
Well, that
good.
was that was part of the band
Yeah.
sampling.
Yeah,
right?
it was. Yep.
Just don't break out that beat and not give me Train in Vain. But that being said, I did like Stupid Girl, and I
Yeah.
know she's not disinterested. She's probably going for like a sultry, kind of delivery. It's just more times than not my jam.
Yeah,
That's
but
all.
it still is a worthy radio friendly song, and
Yes,
not a bad album, just not our jam together. That's fine.
correct. Hold
But
on,
the
Jim.
next one, uh-oh,
I needed to combat your propaganda. I
uh-oh,
meant to do it earlier in the show. Okay, I'm not
uh-oh.
going to do it for the whole show,
What'd
but
you do?
well, you got a Red Sox hat on. I feel like I need to do
Oh,
this,
oh, this
even
is
though
good
it's,
because I can't
or
hear
maybe
you
I
now.
could do
That's
it like
better.
this.
Yeah. No, put that back on. I'll keep going.
Wait, we got to do it the cool kid way. Is
Oh,
that it right
backwards
now?
like I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at least mine says Boston
Yeah,
across.
you're killing me, Smalls. Let's go. Sorry.
Well, the next
Distraction
album
time.
is one that you and I both listened to quite a bit back in the day, and I don't think we've ever really lost our love for it, even though the
Mm.
style of music went away. And this was 1990. It was Extreme, and the album was Pornograffitti. I think More Than Words was the song that was heard around the world for Extreme. It was even covered over here by different boy bands and things like that, or different artists, big UK hits. Uh, but I owe my appreciation for the whole album to you because it was released in August of 1990. That's when I went to summer camp for the first time as a counselor working with Mark. And then after that finished, I showed up with Mark one day and spent the next year hanging out,
Yeah.
at your house
Facts.
almost every night.
Yeah.
For at least two nights a week, I was probably over there, 2 or 3 nights, depending upon what people were doing.
Yep.
And you put the cassette on one night to make sure I heard the whole thing. And I heard the rest of the album and I became an immediate fan. Get the Funk Out is such a great song. Yeah, yeah, lyrically, Get the Funk Out. It's got its cheese
Yeah.
factor, but
Mhm.
the horn, I put in the notes, the horny section, the horn. That's funny. The horn
You,
section.
you, I'd call you a dope,
Hey,
but
there's a song called Little
hey,
Jack Horny on the.
I'm telling you, I autocorrect gets me on some
Yeah,
words. It's
it
like,
got away with that.
yeah, it's like let me say the F word when I want to say the F word.
Yeah, yeah.
Just please know when I don't want to say the F
Yeah,
word.
please no. But anyway, the horn section breakdown that leads to the guitar solo
Yeah.
is one of my favorite hair metal moments. It's so great the way that
Oh, hell yeah.
yeah, the breakdown, it's so damn good. I went to see David Lee Roth. I think it would have been in 1991, maybe springtime at Great Woods, down, where Great Woods is just south of Boston area there. I think that's where Great Woods is
Uh, is it
in
Worcester?
Mass. Yeah, somewhere down there. I don't
Okay.
know. I got
I
a
don't know
car.
either.
Yeah, I didn't drive.
Yeah. You were
But
too high.
yeah, no, that was my friend and his mom. We
Oh,
were, but we went to the show and it was Cinderella Extreme, and actually it was Extreme opening still at this point, even though they'd had More Than
okay.
Words and had number one hits, and Wholehearted had been on the radio as well. They were the openers. Cinderella was the mid, and then David Lee Roth was the headliner
Damn.
of the show.
Damn, that's a good show.
It was really good. It was really good. But I got to be there because that was considered local, and those guys are from Boston. I
Yep.
think a lot of them went to Berkeley. They received their gold record for More Than Words on the stage that night, and I got to
Oh,
see
nice.
that happen. I'm going to go on the record and say that, now a lot of people would say if we hadn't gotten Eddie Van Halen, then there wouldn't be a lot of the music that came out of the 80s.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. But I think that Nuno Bettencourt, I
Betting.
think Betten, I think that Nuno Bettencourt would have become one of the most iconic guitar players of our era if he'd come out 10 years earlier and with a rivalry to Eddie Van Halen. He is just one of the best guitar players that I've listened to on record in my lifetime.
Yeah, he should be a household name, but
Hmm.
I think when you're when you come after Eddie Van Halen, you're not considered groundbreaking. So I think that can kind of hold back your legendary status to a
Hmm.
degree. But that dude is that dude's pretty awesome. And
Yeah,
don't
he's
discount
good.
Pat Badger either, the bass player, because
Oh no. Get
in
the
those
funk out. That's a great.
right, exactly, he's playing that crap
Dun,
right.
dun, dun,
Crap.
dun, dun,
I
dun,
was
dun.
just trying not to say shite. He was just playing that right along with Nuno. So there is some really great musical talent in that band, and it's probably bad parenting on my part that my kids don't know who Nuno Betancourt is. Uh, so from the opening raindrops on this album, I was teleported back to my car, to my room, to where I was working when I would listen to this because I played the hell out of this tape.
hmm
I mean, I destroyed this tape. I played it so much. I love their debut so much. I couldn't wait for this to come out. Boy, man, it did not disappoint. It was
No.
just, oh, so awesome. And yeah, you hit on it. Stuff like Little Jack Horny, get the funk out. Yeah, it's a little corny, falling short of cringy because the music is so damn good.
Yeah.
You just get this good feel vibe from it, right? And the music is so catchy. And in case we haven't said his name enough, Nuno effing Betancourt.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
he's just phenomenal.
Yeah, and I looked forward to their album that came out a couple years ago, and I thought he still plays just the same. It's weird to think that he wound up being the touring guitar player for Rihanna at one point in his
Oh,
career.
really?
You didn't know
I
that?
no, I did
Yeah.
not know that.
Yeah. I mean, good
Wow.
for him for probably making good money going out on tour and doing that.
Oh, yeah, and showing that he doesn't have to just shred all the time.
No, no, he's got a lot of
Right. We
diversity.
have
Yeah.
that conversation about what's his face? John Mayer,
Yeah.
right?
hmm
So
Yeah.
yeah, good.
Well, speaking of shredding, there's more coming here with the next album.
Not it's not quite hair metal, but yeah.
No, and this was probably well, I'll go into it. It is Jane's Addiction, Ritual de Habitual. Such a good start to this album, the way Stop starts
Mm.
with the Spanish intro. This album was part of the early foundation that built the house of alternative rock and grunge music. Nothing
Hmm.
shocking, their debut album came before, but for me, Nothing Shocking is a little bit different. I love it. It's Nothing Shocking is still my favorite Jane's album, but it doesn't quite. I think that there's a difference in the progression of where they're going with Ritual de Habitual that you can really hear. Been Caught Stealing. That broke Jane's Addiction through on MTV. It was a lot more funkier, dancier than what they'd had before. And it was perfect for alternative college radio. And it put them right to the front of that scene. The intro to 3 Days, it has that stoner trippy feeling, and Eric Avery's bass line comes in, driving force for the song. Go back to the start of Get the Funk Out. Both of those songs, I'm sure, as bass players, when we heard these songs, we went to pick our bass up and go, I got to learn how to play that, right away. Like,
Yeah.
I got to know how to do this. And 3 Days has that same kind of feel.
Hmm.
And we've talked about soundscapes before. But the way that Janes creates their sound using reverb and delay, especially with Perry's vocals, what he does, and he brings that to stage, which is really kind of cool. Um, and it was something that hadn't been heard before. And it creates this massive wall of sound mixed between the guitars and the vocals. And then you have one of the greatest drummers, in my opinion, of all time in rock and roll, Stephen Perkins, playing. And then Eric Avery, who I just mentioned on bass. They're just such a great core rhythm section for any band. So yeah, I love this album, those songs and more. But interestingly enough, the person who I haven't mentioned, Dave Navarro, you know, what's your opinion of his guitar work? I'm interested.
One word I would have to say, and because I don't know, like, I mean, everybody knows Jane's Addiction, right?
Mhm.
But I don't know how many people actually truthfully like love Jane's Addiction. Those people just aren't in my life. So coming at from my perspective, where I like, because I'm kind of one of those, I like Jane's Addiction, but there's
Mhm.
nothing that I've barely ever fallen in love with. But I would say Dave Navarro, after listening to it the last couple weeks, underrated,
Yeah.
especially on my part, because I think he's got an image that overshadows his playing
hmm
a little bit.
hmm
And I never heard, would you say, Wall of Sound
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
or something? I never
hmm
really heard that to describe, but it's pretty accurate. uh, because of the effects, and it is
Mhm.
chaotic. And when it's chaotic and with all those effects, it's really tricky for my ear to pick out all the little things that are in there because he's got little buried licks in there. When you pay attention and you listen, you're like, holy crap, this guy's
Yeah. Yeah.
burning. And his
Hmm.
solos are absolute fire. It's
Hmm.
like, holy cow. No one's leaving, especially. Man, he
Yeah, it's
shreds on
really
that thing.
good.
So I really had to concentrate on what he was doing.
Hmm.
I found a lot of depth in his playing. Stop, obviously, great opening track. By the way, it's rock sloppy. No, I don't mean that as bad. It's just rock and roll, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah.
True rock and roll should have
Hmm.
a little grit, sloppy. Shouldn't be nice and clean. But then he's when Ben Costello, he's nice and tight
Yeah, it
and
tightens right up.
concise.
Hmm.
He grooves, right? Then she what the heck? Should have wrote it in my notes. Then she did, I
Uh-huh.
think, and
Hmm.
the song right after it, I think it is, of course. When those songs don't need the chaos, he pulls it back. And actually, I think like the last three or four songs on that album really kind of pull back
They do. Yeah.
that
Yep. Yep.
energy and the chaos. So
Yep.
because the opening is, I mean, the first part of this album is pretty up there in energy.
Oh,
It
it's
is
right
kind
in
of
your
nice.
face. Yeah,
It
yeah.
is kind of nice to
Hmm.
bring it down. And it's funny you brought up Stephen Perkins, a drummer, and I think he has a hand in how much I never pay, never, not never, but my lack of attention to Dave Navarro's playing is because he kind of commands my attention when I listen.
Yep.
I really love how he plays. So everything else just isn't as important to me, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and I would say the champion off this album might be 3 days. That was kind of sitting in a sweet spot in my ears.
I'll give that the champion of the album as well. That's
Yeah.
such a good
Oh,
song.
okay.
So good, so
Yep.
good. And I agree with what you said about Navarro and his image overshadowing his skill in some kind of way.
Hmm.
And he's just so good, like you said, at placing those certain licks and parts exactly where they belong in a song. And yeah, Perkins, easy to get lost if you just want to focus on him and not listen to anything else
Yeah.
happening. You can just do that
Yeah.
because
He's active and he's hitting hard. And yeah.
his drum parts make up as much of any other instrument would in the song, like make the part of the song. You can tell he's
Yes.
not just drumming along, kind of like a Keith Moon drumming, where Keith Moon
Yes.
always
I was
talks about
just
how he
going to say that.
drummed his
He
lyrics.
almost treats it like a lead instrument.
Yeah, yeah, and I really like that.
Yeah, I
So
do too.
yeah, cool.
Definitely have appreciation. Sorry, I know
And
I'm fidgety, but I had a dog in here and then she
oh no,
left.
that's
And
fine.
RIP dirtbag Hulk Hogan, but I have some like YouTube best of matches going on over here to my left.
Oh, that's funny. So while we're doing the podcast, match watching wrestling.
Yeah, well, it's kind of just on, just
Okay,
because of my
okay.
ADD or whatever it is. But he's just kicking Big Boss Man's ass right now. So
Oh, that's cool. It's nice to know that I don't keep your attention enough to talk to anymore. You know,
I
next.
spin plates, man.
Oh.
I spin so many plates at once.
Well, let's go on to the next album that was voted in, and I was really happy as well with this. Pat Benatar, "Crimes of Passion." I was actually really surprised with how well I knew this album when I put it on. Hit Me With Your Best Shot. That's one of those songs that's just always been out there in the ether. You know, it's one of those
Hmm.
songs that shows up in movies or commercials. And that's one of those songs that's kind of going to live forever. It's so good. I have no qualms with that. But I knew four of the five songs on what would have been side A, if you look at
Yeah,
that on the vinyl back in the day. Treat You Right or Treat Me Right, great
treat me right.
song. You Better Run, those songs both rock. And if you didn't know, I had to go back and listen. I didn't realize that You'd Better Run was actually a cover of a Young Rascals song. So I went back and listened to the original, and there are those rare moments where a cover's better than the original, and I think they took the song to new heights. I thought it was really good. This is one of those albums I've talked about before. It might have been Billy Joel, but I talk about where you put that album on and you don't turn over the other side because it's got so
Mm,
many hits on that
side
first
A is
side.
strong.
Yeah, yeah.
It is. It w- it is really nice to get reacquainted with old favorites
Hmm.
because I can get on these little jags of where I'm just constantly looking for something new. Not necessarily new, but just new to me.
Hmm.
And it is so nice to sit down with something it bring you just get that nostalgia bump from it.
Hmm.
I don't think it was a single, but Never Want to Leave You. I fell in love with that song all over again. Her vocal cadence on that, it's just like something I'd never heard of
Hmm.
before growing up, and it always just hit me. And I think she never was really like openly uh feminist. I don't think she really branded herself with, but she didn't need to because the songs spoke for themselves
No,
in
no,
that regard. Treat Me
no.
Right,
Hmm.
right? And Hell is for Children was kind of like this. Uh, what do I want to say? It just spoke volumes of her values,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Invincible. It's there's an emotion, there's a defiance
Well, even
in her lyrics.
the cover of Kate Bush's Wuthering Heights, even that kind of shows the dynamic of her vocal range.
Yes.
And she doesn't try to go too far away from what Kate Bush sounds like.
Hmm.
It, it still has that, she captures the feel of that song, which I find interesting. I don't know when Kate Bush released that song. I don't know if it was, but
I don't know
it
either.
couldn't have been a big time difference in that. But that's cool. I mean, that used to happen back in the day, and maybe she liked that song so much she had to go out and find out if she could cover it and put it on the album. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do a lot worse than copying a Pat Benatar song,
No. And I
right?
don't think we've had a female lead rock vocalist that's been quite as big as Pat Benatar in our time since. We've had plenty of pop stars and singer-songwriters. We've got our Four and On Blondes, or we've got Pink, the people like that. I would say maybe a lot of the country female stars in the 90s that were really big, like Shania and Faith Hill and everything. Maybe Gwen
Yeah,
Stefani, close, but Pat Benatar
not
was
really
just
rock. Yeah,
Pat Benatar was Pat Benatar. She wasn't hiding behind the name of a band. She
yeah,
was right out there leading the whole
yep.
thing.
And where
And
Pat Benatar had it on some of those other ones that you've named is the longevity.
yeah, yeah, yep.
Yep.
And yeah, I was glad to see it took a long time. It was long overdue, a couple years back. She was finally put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She deserved to be there.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Damn right. So is that our five? That's our
That
five
is the
album.
five that the audience voted in. Thank you very much, audience. Those were cool to listen to. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, they were.
And we went down memory lane. Now we're not going to do what we did the last time, where we spent 2 hours talking again about all the other albums. But we're going to give you a laundry list of other albums that were on the poll, and we'll just run through them quickly. In 2000, there was Wheatus with the debut album Wheatus. They still play over here as well.
Really?
Yeah, they're still around, and
I like that.
they've done really well. Teenage Dirtbag was a great one-hit wonder. And I'm sure there's a Wheatus fan out there listening right now who is kind of thinking to themselves, they have more songs than that. And I should spend more time investigating since they've had a
Y-
long, long
Yeah,
career.
that's a good album. I
Yeah.
was digging on that CD back in the day. It is really good. It is
Hmm.
good.
Hmm. 1995, this was more up your alley, but Rancid and
Mm.
out come the Wolves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great record past what you heard on the radio. I mean, it could maybe be called a little bloated, but when your songs are like 2 minutes, who
Hmm.
cares? Have as many as you want on there because they're all really fantastic. This is a great punk album.
Then there was Blind Melon's Soup, and this was their final album, at least with Shannon Hoon. I think they released an album in like 2008 with a different lead
Hmm.
singer or something along those lines. But this was almost my album for the month, so I'm going to say a little something. I was going to pick it, and then I realized that whenever I put the album on, I go straight to track 11. So if I'm not listening to the first 10 songs, Galaxy's okay. That was the radio song off the album. But the song St. Andrew's Fall is one of those songs that has meaning to me. It's got meaning to me,
Hmm.
but it's not lyrically. I relate so much to lyrics, and we talk about how I'm the lyric guy and you're the music guy. But this song, musically to me, exemplified my time in Bennington and when this came out in 1995. I might have not even picked up on it until a year or two later, to be honest, when I started really listening to it. But you've got going down the street, there's kind of a groove and he's happy. And then all of a sudden the song falls into this chaos that
Oh
almost,
yeah.
I used to compare it. I used to tell people it sounded like the tornado in The Wizard of Oz, just of music, just
Hmm.
everything swirling around. And then at the end, it just kind of, there's almost like a musical explosion. And then it's just really kind of mellow and melancholy as it closes the song out. And that was kind of my time in Bennington. I was, going along and I played in bands and things just got absolutely nuts and crazy. And then that kind of all exploded, imploded. And then, all of a sudden it was time for reflection and in a different direction. And that song, not lyrically, musically, for once, Matt, this is it. This is it.
He won't
The,
say I'm right, but he'll.
yeah, the one thing that is cool about this is that in 1995, I was listening to St. Andrew's Fall. And 2 years later, in 1997, I was attending the St. Andrew's Ball in Edinburgh, Scotland,
Oh,
which I just found, there's strange life coincidences sometimes.
yeah.
But this song, to me, is by far the best Blind Melon song.
You specifically said listen to St. Andrew's Fall
Mhm.
before the show because I
Yep.
want to get your reaction. And because I didn't really dig this album as much, so I probably never got to track 11.
Okay. Yeah.
When-
Yeah. Yeah.
But now that I have, it's on my playlist. I
Oh.
really love the way he sings it. And that chaos,
Mm-hmm.
there's the whole this descending note pattern that gets
Mm-hmm.
repeated. Da, da,
Dun,
da, da,
dun,
da, da,
dun,
da.
dun, dun,
But then it
dun.
speeds up and it speeds up,
Yeah.
and they're in the background going, it's like,
Yeah.
oh shit. Then no, this is actually kind of a fall. It's
It
what they're
is. Mm-hmm.
it's what they're simulating. It's a
Mm-hmm.
fall. And then it does kind of come back to peace.
It does. Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, I did like that.
After that, 1990, we had Alice in Chains, Facelift, and I'm never gonna say anything bad about Alice in Chains.
No, that was well, that
Ah,
was a perfect album back
it
in.
was. That was a great
Yeah,
album. Yeah.
that was great. Garth Brooks, no offenses.
Hey, I'll always raise a glass to friends in low places.
Yeah, I will too. Remember when he was the biggest thing going in music, even when Nirvana was around?
Hey, country music fans finally had somebody who's flying around the stadium like Bon Jovi. But he was flying around the stadiums with an acoustic
Yeah,
guitar singing.
and he managed to have crossover success into pop without resorting to pop songs.
Yeah. He was also one of the first guys I remember seeing that was very popular, at least at his level, that was wearing the headset mic while he was playing.
Yes.
You saw that
Yep.
quite, that was kind of his thing.
Hmm.
And to 1985, your
Red Hot
thing.
Chili
Yeah.
Peppers,
Yeah.
Freaky Styley.
Hmm.
So I'm always going to dig this era of Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's just, you just cannot beat the energy they had in their early years. Yeah, they're not as polished, but I go for the energy at most times.
Yeah. I didn't catch them in this time. I do like it. I caught them, by Blood Sugar Sex Magic when that came out in 91, but it was still fun to listen to this week.
Yep.
And then, Matt, we had Miami Sound Machine, Primitive Love. Come on, go to a wedding and we're all going to do the conga.
Oh,
Come on, baby, shake your
yeah.
body, do the conga.
No, you can control it. See, my
We
lips
all know
didn't
it.
move. You can't have no proof that I was singing that song. Hey, Jim, guess what?
Yeah,
I share
what?
an anniversary with this album.
What's that?
What is it, 40 years?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, yeah, I'm celebrating 40 years never having listened to this album. So
Good for you. Good for you.
exactly. And then we'll go back to 1980 and B-52's Wild Planet. Not
Yeah,
enough
that's
votes for them.
yeah, it's an iconic album. I actually wish it had gotten more votes. We've talked a bit about them recently, so maybe people just wanted to hear us talk about something else.
Yeah, this was close to being my choice, but
Mhm.
obviously it's not. I chose something completely different. And I have no regrets. This wasn't as good as, the debut, but it's still a great album.
It is. Yep.
These early B-52's Adams are a good mood.
Mm.
They are my ray of sunshine. That's all.
Mhm.
That's all.
Yep.
1975, Daryl Hall and John Oates with the album, self-titled album, Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I prefer 80s Hall and Oates and kind of those hits. We talk about sticking to the hits,
Mm.
and that I didn't get into much of this album, but Sarah Smile, it's a classic song. It's a hit, and it deserves to be.
Yeah, another. We talked about this back in July. Another album starting off with the John Oates song.
Hmm.
Maybe it's not as abnormal as we believe. And not to pile on. Yeah, I think I've had this self discovery of Hall and Oates. I just need the hits, or mostly the hits,
Hmm.
because there's really not much else from Sarah Smile
Yeah.
that I can say positive. This is a very confusing album, from the cover to the content. I just don't know what they were reaching for,
I have to wonder
honestly.
if the reason why we don't realize about John Oates is because Daryl Hall kind of fits that video image that came out in the 1980s,
Oh
but
yeah,
like
he's
early
more
80s.
the pretty boy. Yeah,
Yeah, and then the record producers when they saw John Oates with his mustache and his curly hair,
yeah,
they're like, no, no, not that guy. That guy's songs.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. And then Hearts, Dreamboat Annie.
Yeah, this is the last album that was on the poll that came to the show, and I think if there was a glass ceiling for women to break in 1970s for what would now be deemed as classic rock, Heart did that, and over the course of the next decade, rose to the top of music.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's
Yeah,
classic rock,
it's good.
right?
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad it wasn't. I wasn't in the mood to listen to it this week. I just was more. I was just in a different frame of mind.
Yep.
Doesn't mean when I'm not in the mood for it, I don't dig it.
But
Because when I am, yeah.
we both agree that it's super talented band.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Ann
And
and
Wilson,
Nancy
she's
Wilson.
one of my
Yeah.
favorite female
Yeah.
singers
Yeah. She's one of your
ever, ever. My
she's
Mount
one of your Mount
Rushmore.
Rushmore. Yeah.
She is.
Yep.
Hell yeah. So we'll get on to our picks.
Yeah.
Jim, you go first because you have Pump Up the Volume.
Yeah. Well, I got to adjust my cock ring. Hold on a second before we get going.
Can I do this a little
Yeah,
bit?
you
I
can
don't
do
know if
this.
that's going to be a big distraction. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Oh
Uh,
no.
I had to watch the movie again this week before doing the
Yeah,
show, not even just listen to the music. The Pump Up the Volume soundtrack opened my eyes to a lot more music than I ever had realized existed. And I know I talk highly of the single soundtrack that came out, a couple of years later, but those bands, they were highlighting the grunge scene, Pearl
yeah,
Jam, Alice in Chains. Those bands were already around and established, and there was an anticipated release of this album. But Pump Up the Volume soundtrack was more of a surprise. And I think this is the first time we've really celebrated a soundtrack. I've celebrated singles before, but this one, if I had to choose between the two, I would actually
yeah.
take this one. I'd pick this one. The Pump Up the Volume soundtrack introduced me to Leonard Cohen, MC5, Pixies, even Soundgarden were there. The UK surf version of the Pixie song Wave of Mutilation has been one of my all-time favorite songs since it appeared on the record. And it's so good when they play it live, when they play live, they'll sometimes play both the album version, which is faster, and then the UK surf version, which is slower. They'll just separate. They'll play like three or four songs in between, but they'll play like the fast version. Then they'll play
Yeah.
like three or four songs, and then they'll play the slow version of
Oh, good.
it.
Hey, keep
Yeah,
them on their toes
it's
because people like both versions.
it's a really cool dynamic.
You might as well. It's either that or you mash them up and then you piss people off because no, I wanted to hear the whole
Exactly,
version of that,
exactly.
right?
Yep, yep.
You hit the nail on the head. I think probably with singles, I think people were more looking forward to the soundtrack than the movie,
Yeah, yep.
right? And what they did right with the Pump Up the Volume soundtrack is they didn't go for the A-listers,
Mm,
right? The songs are what Hard Harry would and was playing.
hmm.
Anything mainstream would feel very out of place for this eclectic mix about somebody finding themselves.
And watching the movie this week, there are as many great songs that aren't on the soundtrack that are still in the film. I would recommend somebody just go watch the movie just to hear all of the music that's in it because it's just really surprising.
Yep. I've recommended this movie to plenty of people over the years, and nobody's ever said they hated it.
Yeah.
Right. If you find this movie at the right time in your life when you need something about rebellion,
Hmm.
right, or finding yourself, you're going to connect with this movie
And this
and
is
and the soundtrack.
Yeah, and this is exactly where I was in 1990. You know this about my life. I was trying to find my own identity, and this movie definitely helped me kind of kick the door down on being myself and saying what I felt like saying instead of hiding behind any kind of curtain.
Hmm.
Those 80s, I think people got a little lost as we got towards the end of the 80s. It had been kind of glory years, and the 90s came along, and we weren't really sure where we were going to go. And of course, 1990, I graduated high school. I wasn't going to college or university, so I didn't really have a future planned out in front of me yet. And I think that, that abyss was at the forefront for people like myself. And this early alternative music and other songs, not all of it's from that era. A lot of these songs are just really good kind of intro alternative rock songs that even go back MC5. I think that goes back to the early 70s. But it led us through a lot of those mixed up teen emotions. There are so many great songs on the album, but the one that I would give the A plus two is the Ivan Neville version of the song "Why Can't I Fall in Love." Now, I don't know if it's his song. You can't find the song; it doesn't exist. If you go look for it on a streaming platform, it's not there. I'm not quite sure why. You go to Wikipedia, you can't click on it. It's not that there's nothing that you can really find about this song. It is on YouTube, so if you want to go listen to it,
Yes.
that's the place to go find it.
Mhm.
But I think this is one of the most soulful, lonely love songs that a person could ever listen to.
I would agree. And it is puzzling when you assume that it's copyright,
It has to be. Yeah, yeah.
BS.
Mhm.
But it's terrible when it comes to a good song, and especially when you know a soundtrack as good as you do, and you're waiting for it in a certain sequence,
Oh
and it
yeah.
isn't there. It's a letdown.
hmm I think it's the
I
lead
hate
song
that.
on this. I think it's the lead song on the
Is it?
soundtrack. Yeah, so to go and find it and think, oh,
Uh,
I'm going to listen to this. But
yeah,
yeah, so
not
anyway,
as good.
pump up the volume. Everybody, go check it out. Go watch the movie. Go listen to the soundtrack
Oh
and talk
yes,
and
please
talk
watch
hard.
Talk Hard. Carry a small stick, talk hard.
Yep.
All right, then we're gonna go to my pick, which is the debut of Loverboy. Yes,
Hey,
Loverboy.
here we go with Bob Rock and Bruce Fairbairn again. We'll never escape them, will we?
And we shouldn't. I mean, that's an impressive duo.
Yeah.
Together and separate, they've done some amazing things in music. This album, though, it's tied for the most Junos won in a single year by a group. The Weeknd and Alanis Morissette, I think, came after them, but to
Mhm.
tie it, best group, best album, best producer,
That's
best
a Canadian
engineer.
Grammy for people who don't
Yeah, it's a
know.
Canadian Grammy. Sorry if
Yeah.
nobody knows. They didn't
We're
get any. Yeah, they didn't get any Grammy love,
Mhm.
right? But music like this typically doesn't. Let's
Yeah.
just say it is the Grammys kind of suck,
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And I needed to look this kind of stuff up because growing up in northern Vermont, you think I'm always afraid that I have a regional bias. I heard it.
Mhm.
So how widespread was Loverboy in the greater US?
Yeah.
But it was number 13 in the States, I think number 5 in Australia.
Okay.
So they had some success. And yeah, maybe this was a lazy pick for me, but I don't care. It's my pick. Let's give me to talk about because it's a great album, right? Uh, there's some iconic songs on here for
Oh
me
yeah.
growing up.
Me too.
This again. Sorry if you think it's lazy. I just wasn't in the mood for anything really hard to digest this week.
Talk about epic songs. I can't believe that Turn Me Loose isn't the theme of some major 80s movie
Oh
because it just
yeah,
has that feel. I had to go look it up.
hell yeah.
I went to Chat GPT and I was like, what was Turn Me Loose in for a movie? And the answer was Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. And nothing else before like it's
Jeez.
yeah. I know. Well, hey, good for that director to pick it up and understand that
Yeah.
it has to have created an unspoken Mandela effect for some people who think that this was like a Rocky theme or something
Oh
back in the
yeah.
day. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. No, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, just
I'm
imagine
interrupting.
what it was like back in the 80s to get ready for a night out and to put on Turn Me Loose, the way the bass comes in, the way it builds up. You've gotten out of the shower, you're blown drying your feathered mullet, and you're splashing on your brute cologne, and you got to go cruising
It's a
up.
montage
You're gonna go.
song
It
from
is. You're gonna go cruising up and down Main Street in your small town all night, and you might stop off at the
yeah.
bowling alley or the pool hall.
Yeah, because
But
there's that build up to it, right? It's definitely a
yeah,
montage song. Yeah.
yep, yep.
It's a date night fight song.
It is.
Turn Me Loose is a great slice of 80s Canadian cheese. I don't know. I don't
There you
think
go.
there's a
Yeah, yeah,
specific
yeah, yeah,
Canadian
yeah.
cheese, but it is, and that is every bassist's dream. This is not a particularly hard bass line to play, but it's damn cool because in forever, you're going to have something out there that you played that is so incredibly memorable. And I've jammed with a lot of people over the years, and I'll break this bass line out. just to see
Yeah,
their reaction to, so I kind of know who I'm dealing with. There are people
yeah,
that are going
yep,
to be
yep.
like, "Fuck yeah, let's go." And other people are going to be like, it's like, okay, are you laughing because you don't think it's cool to think this song is badass? Right? Because I'm telling you, Loverboy,
It's
Loverboy is
badass.
a really great, this is a badass album.
Yeah.
And they sit somewhere, uh, if you look at in my head, a spectrum of music, they kind of sit with, they overlap like power pop, mainstream rock, and a little bit of new wave. It's tight and catchy with hook heavy choruses of power pop. The guitar's a little too heavy for power pop. The synthesizers and some of the rhythms give it a new wave feel, but they never really dive right into it.
Yeah, yeah.
But there are nods. A couple songs in
Hmm.
particular. Mike Reno's voice is a little too good and
Yeah, it's
straight
really good. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for straight new wave.
Yeah.
Musically, Lady of the '80s and Little Girl, they are new wave songs.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that.
They fit that bill so well.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if the album didn't come out yet, 1980, Devos, Freedom of Choice,
Hmm.
if those two albums didn't come out in the same year, I just swore the opening guitar riff on Little Girl was like a reimagining of Girl You Want. It's got a
Okay.
very similar song and sound, very similar riff to it.
Yep.
Uh, so in case I'm loving on this so much because of I don't know because of where I grew up. So I'm always wondering, was Loverboy really that big of a deal? Uh, if you're in that state of not realizing how big of a deal Loverboy was to me,
Hmm.
I can't recommend this album enough. Go listen
Yeah,
to it. It's a really
yeah.
great, fun album, short album. Go listen to it. You have
When
nothing to lose but probably like 25 minutes of your life.
I was messaging you about different albums and what we would talk about, and I said, "What album are you picking?" And I really was sitting going, "Please be Loverboy, please be Loverboy." And you're like, "Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go with Loverboy." And I sent back a yeah
Yeah, you
response
did.
to you. I was excited. I'm so happy you picked it. This is right at the edge of when I had really started paying attention to music and to pick the music that I was going to listen to on my own
Yeah.
and that I loved, and not what my older brother or my parents were playing around me. So. Yeah, it's got that cheese factor, you're right, but it's fun and
Yep.
everybody should have a little bit of fun with their music.
And it lines up with the K-Tel lifestyle we were living.
It
Right.
does. It
Right. That's
does.
probably where you heard it first, or that was probably where you heard it on the radio, but you could get it on this K-Tel album.
You could. Yeah. There we go.
So August is all done. It's
That's
all over.
August. It's a
It's so
wrap.
sad.
Yeah, yeah.
So sad.
It was a good month. It's a better month for music
It
than
was.
we've had in the previous few months, and
It
we have had
was
some good
because
albums, but the choices were better this month.
yeah, because to be honest, there are some days where I am a music snob and I
Mhm.
will turn up my nose to listening to something like Loverboy, and then I have to slap myself because it's so fun,
Uh-huh. Hmm.
right? Music should be about fun.
But also, I think it's a good thing to sometimes step back into the shoes you were wearing when you were 10, 11, 12 years
Oh,
old.
totally.
And that's what this type
Totally.
of album did for me. And yeah,
Yep.
even listening back to Pump Up the Volume or Jane's Addiction, going back to those memories of being in the bedroom with you and Mark and listening to Extreme. And, that's the best part about music is that there's, when we go back 25 years, we're really taking a trip down memory lane. And I hope that anybody else out there watching, listening to the show also will hear us talk about these albums. And I brought it up, about, we both said garbage wasn't our thing. But if you ever want to let us know why it's important to you, we'd love to find out because we would
Oh
like
yeah,
to know.
please.
Yeah, we think that's kind of important to know that. But
Yeah, because it's not that we're right or wrong or you're right or wrong. It's just
mhm,
all about perspective.
yeah. All right, let's wrap it up and let these people
Let's wrap
go.
it up.
And
Yeah,
yeah.
hey, thanks everybody for tuning into the Jam Yearbook again. Wrapping up August anniversaries.
Mhm.
So what's after August? September? We'll be back for
September. Yeah, we'll
September.
be back for September for the August anniversaries. Maybe something in between, but we're not making any promises this time.
Yeah,
No,
nothing.
no.
No promises from these guys because I'm
As
tired of
always,
breaking them. Tired
we
of
want to
breaking them.
thank the people who voted in the poll again, all the people giving us support, and really a big shout out to Shane for the editing that he's been putting into these videos. Being
Yes.
being able to choose these shows now by chapter to dig through, go straight to hear us talk about one of the bands that you might be interested in. We think that's a really cool thing that he's done. So thank you, Shane. We look forward to continuing this, and also thank you to your contributions to the show because it's been nice to have you pop up. It's been good. It's a little surprise to us, and we like that.
Yeah, we do. And don't forget, like, subscribe, tell your friends, comment, tell us we're idiots, but
Hit
in
the
a
button,
nice
hit the
way.
button, hit the
Hit
button.
the button.
Yeah.
All of that
No,
stuff.
nobody likes to say that, but it's what we have to say, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's fine.
All
We
right,
want to be,
everybody.
hey, at least we don't start off coming on with, hey guys.
Yeah. Hey guys. Hey, before we get started, make sure
Yeah.
you hit and like the subscribe button and tell a friend. Make sure
Yeah.
you
So maybe we should do that at the beginning.
maybe we should.
Because if
I was
people
thinking
don't
about
do it, like, stick through till the
I was
very
thinking
end.
about running a finding out who pays attention contest and doing like a name all the characters behind me. And if people could
Oh
do
yeah.
that, maybe we could get like a T-shirt or a
But you'd have to change them up.
well, no, just do it
Otherwise,
once. Just do it once, just for
okay.
fun. Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
We'll see. All right, say goodbye, Matt.
Goodbye, Matt. Goodbye, Jim. We'll see you all there next time for more of the Jam Yearbook.
Peace, love, and podcast.
Lost in the memory.
Boom.